Hello everyone. First, I want to thank you all for allowing us to present our pitch today for the Icy Straight Crab Tour. The purpose of our tour is to do as our slogan suggests, expose tourists to the Crabby Life. Our management team consists of Brecken, who is a licensed boat operator. She's operated commercial fishing vessels herself, and is involved in a community of individuals who have likewise operated such vessels. Adam, who is a logistics and finance manager for a small business located in Southeast Alaska. Robert, Ellen, and Scott. And here we can see each aspect of Icy Straight Crab Tours marketing plan. We're going to cover these 8 points. So first, let's go into our background industry analysis. The industry which we will be engaged in is the tourism industry of Alaska, but specifically Juneau's market. So Juneau receives about 96% of all Alaska cruise ship passenger traffic. So that equates to about 902,000 passengers, which are projected to visit Juneau in 2014. Our business has an opportunity to get involved in a very profitable market, and at an opportune time too. So let's turn our attention to our figure here, showing the rebound of passengers over the course of a decade or so, but specifically we're looking at the years between 2009 and 2010 when our passenger count dropped dramatically. But as we can see, passengers have been on the rebound since 2011. So what does this mean for us? Well, that's great news. That means that the industry is growing. Taking all this into consideration is great, but what about some of the negative sides? We're well aware of some of the weaknesses and threats which exist to a startup company like ourselves. Specifically, we're focusing on our competitors. Competitors include fishing charters and excursion tours, but more specifically is the Bering Sea Crab Tour in Ketchikan. The Bering Sea Crab Tour in Ketchikan has been in operation. They've been attached to Deadliest Catch, and they present direct competition for us. So how do we offset this disadvantage? Well, we offset this disadvantage first through our target market, which is focused on tourists attracted to the commercial fishing industry of Alaska through popular TV shows like The Deadliest Catch. And we focus on our target market by reaching out to them through competitive rates and a diversified excursion experience. And we'll target this market and will promote to this market through similar advertising channels as our competition. Also, Juneau has additional advantages over Ketchikan non-related to our competition. Juneau receives 3% more passenger traffic and receives southbound traffic prior to Ketchikan. So in many ways, this southbound traffic and the superior number of passengers that come through Juneau each year offsets the disadvantage proposed by this Ketchikan business by sheer numbers alone. And so that gets us into our actual product and service. So we will be operating a vessel called the Noble Lady. The Noble Lady will be an 80-foot modified crabbing vessel. Our plan for the Noble Lady involves purchasing a used crabbing vessel and having a lease contract available for a reserve vessel. We considered purchasing 2 vessels, but realized that the costs to do so would be well beyond our capability to raise startup capital for. And so we have instead decided that for a reserve vessel we will have an available lease contract, and that way should repairs become necessary throughout the season we can fall back upon our lease vessel rather than going out of business. And this will offset some of the risk associated with this startup venture, and later on down the road we can look into purchasing 2 vessels, an additional vessel on top of the Noble Lady. So as mentioned already, the slogan for our business is the Crabby Life, because our company is focused on the life of crabs and the persons who fish them. It's a slogan which will draw a smile on the faces of tourists as they board the Noble Lady and embark on their exciting journey. Our logo, as seen at the bottom right of the slide, is a crab driving a boat. Throughout the duration of the tour, our guests will watch presentations on crab fishing performed by commercial fishermen. They'll receive presentations on the crab species as they're brought onto the boat. These will be done by marine biologists. And then they'll receive presentations on the life on a fishing boat. And these presentations are the heart of our tour. The educational value that they bring and the exposure that they bring is unique in the sense that it is actually done on a crabbing vessel. And this is a very unique tour to Juneau. All right, our promotion efforts for our business encompass a three-prong approach: marketing through the cruise lines, marketing through online resources, and marketing through our company's website. And for marketing through our cruise lines, we've identified 3 high-profile cruise lines through which to market our tour: the Princess, Carnival, and Disney cruise lines. Now there's pros and cons to using the cruise lines. One of the cons is that there will be an approximate 10 to 30% commission on top of sales through them. And in addition to that, going through the cruise lines involves contractual agreements, and these will have restrictions and stipulations, and so the company will have to abide by the contractual agreements. And so an example of one of the stipulations would be the company meeting certain specific safety standards for the passengers of the cruise ships. And so why the cruise lines then? Well, here's where the pros start to come in. Well, first of all, our competition in Ketchikan sells through every cruise line which docks at their port. Now, we hope to build up to this eventually, but as a startup operation, it's not entirely feasible to market through every cruise line that docks at Juneau. So that's why we picked the 3 high-profile ones. And then by marketing through the cruise lines, we'll be side by side with the Ketchikan tour and passengers. On these cruise ships, we'll be able to see our lower rates in comparison with Ketchikan tour's higher rates. And this is something that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. And that gives us a distinct competitive advantage over the Ketchikan tour. Now, in addition to our competition-based rates, we'll take every reasonable effort to ensure that our tour is more alluring and attractive to the passengers. The other advantage for selling through the cruise lines is that 96% of cruise ship passengers come through Juneau. And so this means that by marketing on cruise ships, we've already hit the majority of our target market. And in addition to that, when we go through the cruise lines, that means the cruise lines are backing our promotional efforts. The cruise lines want to make a profit. And so they're going to make a profit every time we sell a ticket. That means that they're going to push to get these tickets sold to these passengers. And so that really takes a huge chunk of the responsibility of promotional efforts out of our hands. Now, does that mean that we're not going to take responsibility for our promotional efforts? Absolutely not. We're going to have online marketing, which was our second approach. And in our online marketing, we're going to use Facebook and pay-per-click advertising. Why Facebook? Well, according to Facebook Business, their users reach an average 89% of their intended audiences versus 38% for most other online venues. Facebook is a very valuable virtual word-of-mouth promotional effort. And Facebook is everywhere. And so using Facebook allows us a vast scope of exposure to intended target markets. These resources also provide inexpensive alternatives for us. Especially as a startup business, this is very important to have an inexpensive approach to our marketing efforts. that, and then all of these online marketing will be drawn into our third prong approach, which is our website marketing. And so our Facebook links, our Facebook page, our Facebook advertisements, our pay-per-click advertising, these will all draw the consumer to our website. And it's our website that's going to sell us. So in using the internet, we'll be able to sell ourselves through the website. And the website will provide additional detailed information on our tour, which will draw consumers to make the purchase, to either purchase a ticket or they'll remember the exposure they had on our website when they get on the cruise ship, and so they'll go and buy a ticket through the cruise lines. So the intention is to plant that seed and then to harvest it, either harvest it immediately through a website ticket or to harvest it when they get on that cruise ship. They will have the option to purchase tickets through our website as explained, and this also opens sales to our local consumers. So they're not our target market, but they are a significant market, and local consumers are looking to get out and enjoy themselves, to go on these tours, which they see offered year-round, year after year. And so, not year-round, but on a seasonal basis, year after year, just to avoid confusion there. And so our local consumers who are interested in a tour will have the opportunity to participate through website ticket purchases. And that leads us into price. So in determining our price, we use two approaches. We use a competitive-based and a cost-based approach. And as you can see, we have a price for our tourists and a local discounted price. And that's to hopefully draw more of the local consumers in. They're not really our target market, so we're okay to give them a discounted price because any local consumer we get in is just additional profit for us. And so our tourist price is $5 below that of the Ketchikan business. And then you can see below that we have our seasonal net profits. And our tourist price allows us to meet our anticipated profit needs while meeting our expenses. Now this is calculated based off of two excursions a day per season and roughly maxing out our vessel capacity. Now as investors, you'll be interested to note the profit margin ratio. Our cost-based approach will maintain net profits within a 1% deviation of 51% of a 51% profit margin ratio. So 50 to 52%. And this allows us to control retained earnings to assure a sufficient amount of cash flow in the business. We plan on using investments in the company as a means of offsetting startup costs, especially for the purchase of the Noble Lady. So why Juneau, Alaska? Because that's where we chose for our startup operation. And that's where we're going to make a niche market with our unique crab tour business. So why the Juneau port? Well, Juneau, Alaska, as mentioned before, is currently expanding their downtown and Auk Bay harbors. This means more room for new businesses and indicates anticipated growth in the tourist market. Juneau is also home to the University of Alaska, where we can hire seasonal biology students for our naturalists. As mentioned before as well, Juneau receives 96% of all passenger traffic through Alaska. Can't emphasize that enough. It's a high tourist area. Juneau's a beautiful location and only an hour from the crabbing waters near sister islands in the Icy Strait. This provides a perfect distance for tour duration. Our employees will already be experienced in their respective duties. Brecken, our management team, will be the captain of the Noble Lady, and we'll hire one additional captain. Some of the Coast Guard required certifications and licensing include charter boat captain's license with a master 100 tons endorsement and near coastal sublicense. Our naturalists will be marine biologist students from the local university. These will be first and second year students looking for a fun summer to apply their knowledge. Our deckhands will be commercial fishermen who no longer fish professionally. These will be individuals seeking to seeking a familiar work atmosphere without the associated dangers. They will bring their professional knowledge, but also they'll have captivating tales to tell to our passengers. And there's no more valuable experience than to hear stories directly from the mouths of the people who did it. Okay, the following 2 slides run us through the processes of our business, from shuttling guests through cruise line buses to our docks, to what occurs during the 4-hour excursion. We'll be able to fit in 2 excursions per day as mentioned, and we're going to match our departure times with the arrival times of cruise ships. So we're going to match the duration of our tours with the cruise ship docking patterns. And most important here are our desired refund policies because they affect cash flow in the business. For passengers on ships which dock late, we're going to offer full refund. We're going to have all cancellations for tickets purchased through the cruise ships will be handled and managed by the cruise lines. So that takes a huge chunk of that logistics management from our hands, and that's another benefit of the cruise lines. Then any cancellations for tickets purchased through our website we'll manage, and we'll offer a 24-hour cancellation policy. So as long as they're canceled before 24 hours, then they'll get a full refund on it. And then any complaints will be handled by our management team through phone and email. Now, our physical evidence. Our most prominent piece of physical evidence will be the Noble Lady. She will have custom modifications for tourism use, including a snack bar and elevators and a ramp for the handicap, and our brand images painted onto the vessel. The company will also own a Ford F-250 service vehicle for transporting goods to and from the Noble Lady, and a shack for equipment with banners and flags advertising the company. Now, this shack will be located on the downtown docks and will be staffed by a rep who will be available with an internet sufficient computer. And the purpose of this is to allow any tourists or locals to purchase tickets through our website at the shack. And we'll have a printer to print those off, and they can hop right onto the tour boat. And then lastly, our employees will wear appropriate uniforms for their job functions, including a shirt and rain gear, all of which will have our brand image on them. Now, in conclusion, this tour is unique to the venues offered through Juneau, and we're going to outshine our competition through our competitive rates, our promotional stratagem, including the cruise lines and the internet and our website, and most importantly, our experienced professional crew, our commercial fishermen and our captain who's got years of experience driving these vessels, and our university students who are knowledgeable on marine biology and marine wildlife, and who are just excited to share that knowledge and to apply what they're studying. Once again, 96% of all passengers come through Juneau. That means high traffic of tourists, high profit margins, I should say higher profit margins than any other port could offer us. And then lastly, our schedule, our customer service logistics, and our generic branding will draw the passengers in. Thank you for your time and for your consideration of Icy Straight Crab Tour.